Welcome to our deep dive into healthy eating. You've sent us a ton of material on popular diets.
A lot to sift through.
Yeah, so we're here to help you make sense of it all, extract those little golden nuggets of knowledge.
Absolutely. And it's fascinating because, even with all these different diets, your sources all seem to emphasize the importance of, just a solid foundation in overall healthy eating.
Yeah, like that's the basis, right? It's like building a house.
Yeah.
You need that strong base before you start, decorating and making it all fancy.
And speaking of foundations,
Uh-huh.
one of your sources, the World Health Organization, really highlighted the benefits of exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months. It's not just about the nutrition, but it really has impacts on the baby's health long term.
That's a great example of how those early choices can make such a big difference. Okay, but let's dive into some specific diets now. The Mediterranean diet always seems to be a superstar. What makes it so special?
I mean, it's more than just the food. I mean, the food is delicious, but studies consistently link this way of eating to a lower risk of heart disease and even some cancers. One source even suggested that it could help people lose 5 to 10% of their body weight in a year.
That's impressive. It makes you wonder if it's the food itself or just that overall lifestyle, right?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's something researchers are still trying to figure out, but the emphasis on, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, healthy fats like olive oil, it definitely plays a role.
Speaking of healthy fats, isn't that a key part of the DHH diet too? I know that one's all about lowering blood pressure.
Exactly. And it gets specific about how to do that. The DHH diet really drastically reduces sodium intake, aiming for about a teaspoon a day. Studies have shown that there's a noticeable drop in blood pressure within just 2 weeks.
Wow, that's fast. I remember from my reading that it's because that excess sodium, it throws off the balance of fluids in our bodies, putting extra strain on the heart and the blood vessels.
Exactly, you got it. By cutting back on sodium, the DAH diet directly tackles a major contributor to, hypertension.
So we have these delicious whole food focused approaches, but then there's the plant-based trend, which seems to be exploding everywhere these days.
Yeah, it definitely is. And one thing that struck me was the rise of Flexitarianism. It's like a gateway to plant-based eating, allowing for some meat while still prioritizing, those plant-powered meals. And your research showed that even reducing meat consumption can have a big impact. Vegetarians and fish eaters have a 13 to 22% lower risk of heart disease compared to meat lovers.
That's a significant difference. So maybe it's not about going all in, but just finding that balance that works for you.
Right. And that balance is what's so interesting about the MIND diet, which focuses on brain health. It pulls the best from the Mediterranean and DHH diets, but emphasizes foods that support cognitive function.
Like those leafy greens and berries we always hear about.
Exactly. Plus nuts, fish, and even a little bit of wine. One study found that following the MIND diet closely could reduce Alzheimer's risk by over 50%.
That's incredible. It really shows how connected our food choices are to our long-term health. But all these diets focus on what we eat. What about when we eat? That's where intermittent fasting comes in, right?
It does, and there are so many variations. One popular method is the 16-8 approach, which involves fasting for 16 hours and having an 8-hour eating window. Might sound tough, but research suggests it can be as effective as traditional calorie restriction for weight loss.
It makes you wonder if giving your body those breaks from digestion has other benefits too.
That's what some researchers believe. Studies are looking into potential benefits like improved insulin sensitivity and reduced inflammation.
And I remember reading that even coffee can be helpful during those fasting periods.
Yes, caffeine can actually help suppress your appetite. It's about finding what helps you make those healthy choices.
Speaking of making healthy choices, WW, formerly Weight Watchers, has been helping people do that for years with their points system. It seems less about specific foods and more about portion control.
That's a good observation. WW assigns points to different foods, helping people make informed decisions within their daily budget. And they have those 0-point foods like fruits and veggies, which don't need to be tracked at all. And studies show people using WW can lose a significant amount of weight, which suggests this approach works for some people.
It seems like it takes some of the stress out of calorie counting, which can be pretty tedious.
You're right. And that's where the volumetrics diet takes a different approach. Instead of focusing on calories, it emphasizes calorie density. That's the number of calories per unit of volume.
So like a big bowl of salad would be a low-calorie density food, while a small handful of nuts would be high.
Exactly. It's a strategy for feeling full and satisfied while still managing your calorie intake. And your sources highlight this as a way to control hunger and lose weight steadily, all while enjoying those filling meals.
That sounds appealing. No one wants to feel deprived when they're trying to be healthy.
Absolutely. And that's something the new Mayo Clinic diet really emphasizes. It's designed for long-term success, focusing on building those sustainable habits.
Their two-step approach is interesting, right? They have a lose it phase for the initial weight loss and then a live it phase to help people maintain those healthy habits.
Precisely. And they even provide those quick, easy recipes to make healthy eating less daunting. It's about moving away from those restrictive diet food cliches.
It seems like all these diets, in their own way, are trying to help us shift our relationship with food for the better.
That's a great insight. And it's not just about physical health. One study found a fascinating link between the Mediterranean diet and mental well-being, suggesting it could reduce the risk of depression.
Wow, that's amazing. Never thought about food impacting my mood that directly.
It's an area where research is really uncovering some powerful connections.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, are we just feeding our bodies or are we feeding our minds too?
That's a great question, and one we can explore further. But first, we need to take a short break.
Welcome back to our deep dive. Before the break, we were talking about those real-life challenges that can make healthy eating tricky.
Right, because let's face it, we don't live in a perfect world where, we always have time to cook elaborate meals and resist every tempting treat.
Exactly. But the key is having those strategies in place for those moments when life throws a curveball. And one of the most powerful tools you have is, self-awareness.
You mean like understanding what specifically throws us off track?
Precisely. Identifying your personal triggers, whether it's late-night snacking, stress eating, social pressure, it can help you develop coping mechanisms that you know actually work for you.
So if I know I always crave sweets after dinner, I can make sure I have some fruit on hand instead of reaching for the cookie jar.
Exactly. Or if you tend to overeat at social gatherings, maybe you fill up on veggies and lean protein beforehand, so you're not as tempted by those less healthy options.
It's like having that game plan so you're not caught off guard.
All right. And speaking of game plans, meal planning and prepping can be a lifesaver, especially when time is tight. Even a little bit of planning can go a long way.
I have to admit I'm not the best at meal prepping. It always seems like such a big undertaking.
I understand, but it doesn't have to be complicated. Start with small steps. Maybe batch chunk up some grains on the weekend or chop veggies to have on hand for snacks, or even assemble a few mason jar salads for quick lunches.
Okay, that sounds manageable. I like the idea of having those healthy grab-and-go options.
Exactly. It's about setting yourself up for success. And when those inevitable social situations arise, remember that you don't have to deprive yourself or become a food police officer.
That's a relief. I was just thinking about how hard it can be to resist those tempting treats at parties and, gatherings.
It's all about finding that balance. Maybe you offer to bring a healthy dish to share or focus on enjoying the company and the conversations rather than, just the food.
That's a good tip. It's easy to get caught up in the, food-centric aspect of it and forget about all the other reasons we're there.
Right. And let's not forget about those sneaky cravings. Those can really derail our best intentions.
Oh, tell me about it. Sometimes it feels like my cravings have a mind of their own. Any advice on how to tame those beasts?
One of the most helpful things is understanding what your cravings might be telling you. Often they're a sign that your body is lacking something, whether it's nutrients, hydration, even just sleep.
So if I'm craving chocolate, it might mean I need more magnesium. Or if I'm craving salty snacks, could be a sign of dehydration.
Exactly. So before you automatically give in to that craving, try addressing those potential needs. Drink a glass of water, have a piece of fruit, or take a short nap.
That makes so much sense. It's like our bodies are trying to communicate with us, and we just need to, learn how to listen.
Precisely. And of course, there will be times when the craving persists. In those cases, it's okay to indulge in a small portion of what you're craving. Depriving yourself completely often backfires, leading to overeating later on.
It's that balance again, isn't it? Honoring your cravings without letting them control you.
Exactly. And remember, it's also about filling up on those nutrient-rich foods throughout the day, so you're less likely to experience those really intense cravings in the first place.
So it's like crowding out the unhealthy with the healthy.
That's a great way to put it. And of course, portion control is always important, even with those nutrient-packed superfoods.
Right, because even healthy foods can become unhealthy if we overindulge.
Absolutely. But beyond these practical tips, it's important to acknowledge the role mindset plays in healthy eating.
That's so true. Our thoughts and beliefs can have a powerful impact on our choices.
Right? One of the biggest mindset shifts is moving away from that, diet mentality. which often feels restrictive and sets us up for failure.
I know that feeling. It's like you're always waiting for the diet to be over so you can go back to normal eating.
Exactly. Instead, try cultivating a more positive and, sustainable approach.
Hmm.
Focus on adding nutrient-rich foods to your diet rather than dwelling on what you're, giving up.
So it's about abundance rather than deprivation.
Exactly. And remember to celebrate your progress no matter how small. Every healthy choice you make is a step in the right direction.
That's such an important reminder. It's easy to get discouraged when we slip up, but it's those small wins that add up over time.
Absolutely. It's a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs along the way. The key is to be kind to yourself, learn from your mistakes, and keep striving to make those healthy choices that support your well-being.
That's a great message. Progress over perfection. And speaking of progress, let's talk about exercise. It seems like it goes hand in hand with healthy eating.
You're absolutely right. Exercise amplifies the benefits of healthy eating in so many ways. It helps burn calories, strengthens muscles, boosts our mood, and even enhances cognitive function.
So it's like a superpower for our overall well-being.
Exactly. Studies have shown that people who combine a healthy diet with regular exercise experience greater weight loss, improved blood sugar control, a reduced risk of chronic diseases, and an overall enhanced sense of well-being.
That's quite a list of benefits. And you mentioned cognitive function. We talked about the Mindy diet supporting brain health, but it sounds like exercise plays a role too.
It does. Physical activity increases blood flow to the brain, which can improve memory, focus, and cognitive performance. It's like a workout for your brain.
Wow, so we're talking about a double whammy for brain health, a healthy diet plus regular exercise. I'm starting to feel smarter already.
It's an empowering thought, isn't it? We have the power to shape our health and well-being through our daily choices.
Absolutely. We've touched on how food can impact our mental well-being, but I'm wondering if we could dive a little deeper into that connection.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's a fascinating area of research. For instance, studies have shown a strong link between gut health and mental well-being.
That's interesting. So the bacteria in our gut can actually influence our mood.
It's a relatively new area of research, but the findings are compelling. It seems that a diverse and balanced gut microbiome can contribute to a healthier brain and a more stable mood.
So what can we do to support a healthy gut microbiome?
You guessed it. Diet plays a key role. A diet rich in fiber, prebiotics, and probiotics can nourish those beneficial bacteria in our gut, potentially leading to a cascade of positive effects on our mental health.
So those fermented foods like yogurt and sauerkraut are more than just trendy, they're actually good for our brains.
Precisely, they're like tiny mood boosters in disguise. And on the flip side, a diet high in processed foods, sugar, and unhealthy fats can disrupt the balance of our gut bacteria, potentially contributing to mood swings, anxiety, and even depression.
That's pretty amazing. It makes you realize just how interconnected our bodies and minds really are. We're not just feeding our physical selves, we're feeding our mental and emotional selves as well.
Exactly. It's a holistic perspective that's gaining increasing recognition in the field of nutritional psychology. And it's not just about what we eat, but also how we eat. Mindful eating practices, such as paying attention to our food, savoring each bite, and eating without distractions, can also have a positive impact on our mental well-being.
So it's about creating a more mindful and nourishing relationship with food, both for our physical and mental health.
Absolutely. It's about treating food as a source of nourishment and enjoyment, rather than a source of stress or guilt.
I love that. It takes the pressure off and makes healthy eating feel much more approachable and sustainable.
Exactly. It's about finding a sustainable approach that works for you, both body and mind.
Speaking of sustainable, I'm eager to hear about the future of food. What trends and innovations are on the horizon?
Get ready for a wild ride. The future of food is looking incredibly exciting with technology, personalization, and sustainability driving some truly remarkable innovations.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. Give us a sneak peek into what's cooking in the world of food tech and nutrition.
Well, one trend that's gaining serious traction is personalized nutrition. Imagine a world where you can get dietary recommendations tailored to your unique genetic makeup, microbiome, and lifestyle.
So it's like having a customized meal plan designed specifically for you. That's pretty incredible. But how does it actually work?
Advancements in genetic testing and data analysis are allowing us to understand how our bodies respond to different foods on a much deeper level. Companies are now offering personalized nutrition plans based on your DNA, gut microbiome, and even your blood sugar response to certain foods.
Wow. So it's like having a personal nutritionist on call 24/7. That's pretty amazing. What other innovations are shaping the future of food?
Technology is playing a huge role. We're seeing the rise of smart kitchens, AI-powered meal planning apps, and even 3D printed food.
Hold on, 3D printed food. That sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie. Is that really a thing?
It is, and it has the potential to revolutionize food production. Imagine being able to create customized meals with precise nutritional content, reduce food waste, and even address food security issues in areas where fresh produce is scarce. The possibilities are mind-boggling.
So it's not just about convenience, it's about creating a more sustainable and equitable food system. That's incredibly exciting. What other trends are you seeing?
Well, the plant-based movement is only gaining momentum. We're seeing a surge in demand for plant-based meats, dairy alternatives, and innovative plant-based ingredients.
I've definitely noticed that. There are so many delicious plant-based options available now. It's a far cry from the days of bland tofu and rubbery veggie burger.
Exactly. The technology and the culinary creativity behind these new plant-based products are truly impressive. They're mimicking the taste and texture of meat and dairy in ways that were unimaginable just a few years ago.
So whether you're a devoted carnivore or a plant-based enthusiast, there's something for everyone in the future of food. It's all about innovation, sustainability, and personalization.
You got it. And I think that's a perfect note to end on. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored the science, the trends, the challenges, and the triumphs of healthy eating. But ultimately, it all comes down to this.
Making choices that nourish our bodies, minds, and spirits.
Exactly. It's about finding a way of eating that makes you feel your best and that you can sustain for years to come.
It's about listening to our bodies, experimenting with different approaches, and finding what works for us.
And it's about enjoying the journey. Food is meant to be savored, shared, and celebrated.
So let's raise a glass to delicious, nutritious food and a future filled with exciting culinary possibilities.
Cheers to that.
We're back and ready to wrap up our deep dive into healthy eating, exploring all these different diets and myth busting, and even taking a peek into the future of food. It's been really eye-opening.
Yeah, it has been quite a journey. And I think it's amazing how much research is emerging, constantly adding to our understanding of nutrition and how it impacts, our well-being.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, what are some key takeaways that you think will really empower our listeners to make those healthy choices stick?
Well, I think one of the biggest takeaways is that there's no one-size-fits-all approach, right? What works for one person might not work for another. It's about finding what feels sustainable and enjoyable for you.
That makes sense. I mean, we've talked about so many different diets, from the Mediterranean to intermittent fasting, and they all have their pros and cons.
Exactly. And it's not about being perfect. There will be times when you slip up or indulge in a treat or miss a workout. It's about progress, not perfection.
And being kind to ourselves along the way, right?
Absolutely. Guilt and shame are not helpful emotions when it comes to healthy eating. Instead, focus on celebrating your wins, no matter how small, and learning from those setbacks.
Like that, it's about reframing our relationship with food so it feels more supportive and less like a constant battle.
Right. And I think that's where mindful eating comes in. It's about bringing awareness and appreciation to the experience of eating.
So instead of mindlessly scarfing down our food while scrolling through our phones, we're actually paying attention to the flavors, textures, even the aromas.
Exactly. It's about savoring each bite and listening to our body's cues of hunger and fullness.
That sounds incredibly grounding and satisfying. And it seems like a skill that could benefit us in so many areas of our lives, not just with food.
I agree. Mindful eating can help us cultivate a deeper connection with ourselves and our bodies, which can have ripple effects in all aspects of our lives.
It's about creating a more conscious and intentional way of being.
And remember, this journey doesn't have to be a solo mission. There are so many resources available to support you, whether it's a registered dietitian or a meal planning app, or even just a supportive online community.
That's so true. There's a wealth of knowledge and support out there just waiting to be tapped into.
And as you continue to explore and experiment, remember to trust your intuition. Listen to your body. It knows what it needs.
I think that's a beautiful way to sum it all up. Trusting our bodies, honoring our preferences, and embracing that journey of finding what truly nourishes us.
Exactly. It's about creating a sustainable and enjoyable relationship with food that supports our overall well-being.
So as we bring this deep dive to a close, I want to thank you for sharing your expertise and insights with us. I feel like we've created a treasure trove of information that our listeners can use to navigate the world of healthy eating with more confidence and joy.
It's been my pleasure, and I hope our listeners feel empowered to embark on their own culinary adventures, armed with knowledge, curiosity, and a healthy dose of self-compassion.
And who knows, maybe they'll even inspire those around them to join in on the journey to a healthier and happier life.
That would be fantastic.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into healthy eating.
Until next time.